What's up, YouTube? This is Casey coming back at you guys for another financial video nugget. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hopefully, you guys find this video just as helpful and beneficial as you have the previous ones. So today I want to talk about the importance of having a high yield savings account and the top dog right now in the market, which is Wealthfront. So if you guys haven't already taken a look yet, I have a previous video that discusses the importance of a high yield savings account relative to a lot of the other banks. This is going to kind of be a little bit of overlap to that, but I mean basically the gist of it is that when your money is sitting into a regular account, you're drawing an interest 0.05, 0.10%, something ridiculously low. And when you put your money into a high yield savings account, or in this particular case, a high yield cash account that they call it, you're getting 40, 50 times over the national average, which is just a ridiculous amount. All right, so to kind of give you guys a comparison of what that means exactly, just let's just take a quick look at some of the interest rates, the annual percentage yields. Wells Fargo, who I bank with, and I think they're a good bank, that's debatable for some people, is 0.05%. You have, let's take a look at another one here. Trying to use some of the bigger ones. Capital One gives you 1%. I know like Chase gives you, I think it's like 0.5%, something ridiculous. Like it's a very, very low number. Well, Wealthfront gives you 2.5. And so how does that translate to money actually? Well, if you have a $5,000 balance that's sitting in a regular checking account, you would be generating with 0.10% $5 a year. That's it. Now, keep in mind the banks take your money and they lend your money out. All banks do it. And they make probably, quite a bit of money, thousands of dollars maybe on your money throughout the year, at least hundreds and hundreds of dollars on it. And at the end of the year, they give you $5 back. If you bank with Wells Fargo, they give you $2.50 back. Well, with Wealthfront, you get $130, $129. I mean, that's a huge, huge difference. And it just kind of goes up exponentially as as you have more money in it. Let's just say hypothetically, and I know probably a lot of people don't, but just giving an example, $20,000 is 500 bucks. It's quite substantial. And keep in mind that this is completely risk-free. There's no risk in the markets whether something goes up or down. There's absolutely no risk whatsoever. The now a lot of you guys are probably asking, well, why are they offering such a high rate? And the answer to that is a couple of things. It's a twofold part. One of the things is that well, they're not a traditional brick and mortar bank. They are an online bank and they're an online investment bank. So they don't have a lot of the overhead costs that a lot of the other companies do, such as Wells Fargo and Chase and Bank of America and things of that nature. And then the second thing is that they focus primarily on investments. They are a robo investment a company on top of that. So I think some of it also has to do with they're able to offer a higher interest rate because they collect a lot of fees with their with the cash accounts, with the investments, and the fact that their overhead is so low, and they pass a lot of that on to the customers. So this is a really really big difference. Now, if you take a look here, for those of you that are curious, and you do want to start doing on their investment side, they do have a $500 minimum, which it used to be nothing. It's now $500. They do also have an account management fee of 0.25%, which to me is fine. If you have less than $5,000, they're going to completely waive that for you. And then they have a relatively industry standard average. Well, that's actually a little lower ETF expense ratio, and this is basically the cost that it takes to manage the ETF to actually trade that ETF back and forth. Okay, outside of that, there's no additional account fees. And they do have a nice portfolio mix that they give you with the individual accounts. You have trust accounts, Roth IRAs, SEPs, traditional RAs, and so forth. If you guys aren't quite yet ready to do the investing side, at the bare minimum, put your money into the high yield cash account. It is just a sin to not have that. I know that it doesn't look like a lot on the face value of it, particularly if you don't have a lot of money, but a lot of it really is just the principle of it. I mean, if someone comes along and says, "Hey, listen, do you mind if I give you an extra $500? Do you mind if I give you an extra $50 a month?" I mean, you have to understand that when it comes to investing and making money and then having financial freedom, it it's not one thing that's going to get you there. There's no overnight thing. It's a combination of a lot of things that you do that get you to get you there. And that's something that that's the secret that they don't tell people. This is one of those secrets. is to have your money make you money. And again, if you're not ready to invest, but you need, but you have money, no matter how much it is, and it's sitting in an account, you want to have that money in a high yield savings account. I want to have it in the best one in the market, which is 2.5%. So that's a good thing. Right. And so you have that into the market. And yeah, and so in addition to that, yeah, they have a lot of different options with the accounts that they offer. They do also offer something that's called tax loss harvesting. And what that basically does is that it sells the investments automatically behind the scenes that would show a bigger loss than the ones that would show profit. And that's just so that when it comes time for tax time, if you have on the, in the ETFs, you have the $200 ETF or another 200. You have different ETFs with different amounts. It's going to sell the ones that are showing a higher loss at that current time, so that come tax time, you'll pay less taxes. So that's a really cool feature that they automatically offer. A lot of places don't offer, but they do. And just overall, so this here says that they do offer phone support. I'm not entirely sure that they offer phone support. At least at the time of when I originally looked into them, they didn't. They do now, from what this is saying. So I'll have to look into that a little bit further. But I mean, overall, I have to say I'm relatively happy with Wealthfront. With Wealthfront, the interest rate is a huge, huge plus. A lot of things people also probably wondering is this subject to change? Are they subject to raise it and lower it? And for those of you that aren't aware, the APY is really based on the Fed funds rate, which is the rate at which the Federal Reserve charges other banks to borrow lend money. That changes on a continual basis every single time that the Fed, you know, does their meetings and decides, based on the health of the economy. Um, the last time that the Fed had a meeting, which was last month, they lowered the rate, which generally means that the interest rates will then lower as a result of that. I know that Ally, which is another high yield savings account, they lowered their rates. This means you get back less money. However, Wealthfront did something that was contrarian to that. They actually raised their rates, which means you actually were making more money, even though the Fed lowered their rates than before they did that, which isn't normal for them to do that, for any bank to do it, but they did it. And so, do I think that they're going to continue to keep this rate? No, I don't actually. I think at some point they are going to probably lower the rate. That's just what happens. As of June 21st, that's what the rate is. It could very well change. I personally think that this rate is probably going to be good for, I don't know, a year to 2 years, 12 to 24 months, um, and it could also go up. It could be a little bit higher. But the gist of this is just that you have your money in an account that's going to generate more money than sitting inside of a banking account. It's an absolute sin to not have your money sitting in a high yield account. And what better than to go with somebody who has the highest yield currently. And then for those of you who are actually interested in doing the investment side, you can put your money into Wealthfront or any of the other robo-advisors. And this is what they invest in. It's automatic, it's hands off. You don't have to watch it on a regular basis. It's very, very safe, but obviously you are risking your money because you're putting it into the market. But it's one of those things where it's kind of a set it and forget it type thing. They invest the ETFs, the underlying ETFs that they will put your money into, or just overall total market. ETFs. So the VTI is a very, very huge generic one that follows the overall total market. The VEA follows the foreign stocks, overall stocks. It's a collection of them for foreign stocks and emerging markets and dividend stocks, natural resources, municipal bonds, and so forth. If you're curious about the performance, I guess you guys haven't actually. If you're curious about that, depending on your risk tolerance, will dictate the returns on the investment side of things. But if you take a look, their one-year returns, they're giving you about 7%. So, the 3 years they're giving you seven, and the 5 years is five, and so forth. But, they're saying, hey, if you put your money in since they started back in 2011, you'd be getting about 6% a year. Now, are there other more aggressive investments? Are there other ETFs or funds or things that you could put your money into? Yeah, probably. The S&P index is probably a really good one. That'll follows the total S&P. You can get back 15, 20%. Maybe if you had purchased, if you're actively or semi-actively But that requires a little bit more of the knowledge and a little bit more of the actively watching the stock markets and knowing when and when not to. Wealthfront and the other robo advisors, these are really hands-off type approaches. You put your money into the account and you just kind of keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it, and you ensure that inflation doesn't eat away at your money every single year. That's what this offers. And so, if you guys are just want, if you just want to, if you're just now getting started into the investment aspect of things, you know, every single dollar of your money should be in some type of high yield savings account for this reason alone. All right. And then when you're ready, the cool thing about Wealthfront is when you're ready, to take your money out of the cash account that has the highest in the market, you can put it into the investment side and you can kind of continue to do that on a regular basis. And that's what I think is really cool. You have that flexibility. A lot of the online high yield savings accounts don't have the investment sides, it's just the savings. Well, this kind of gives you the savings in addition to when you're ready to start putting into the overall market. Some of the other questions people probably want to know about is, does it have a debit card? They don't currently offer it. They will hopefully do it at some point. I actually would really like to see this feature because I think this then will help people make transactions can use it as more of a traditional account, so they can start making purchases and paying their bills with it and use it as your traditional check-ins. Because when they do this, I think this is a game changer. Because then you can actually start drawing from the account, and then at that point, it's a high yield savings checkings account, and that would just be crazy. There are no fees, which I already kind of discussed. This is their outlook of short term. I consider short term to be a little less than this, but that's what they're recommending you put the money into for. I mean, for me, it's a cash account. Put it in, take it out as often as you want. Another cool thing is there are no limits. So if you want to, with the traditional savings account, you can only make 6 transactions a month. That's it. That's a government regulated standard. You can't do anything more than that. Well, with this cash account that's giving you even a higher yield interest rate, you can. So that's a really cool thing. And then it obviously tells you can take it out anytime you want. It says they don't quite yet offer the ability to move within between accounts, but I know that that is coming as an option. And then, as we already kind of discussed, they do make money off your money. All banks do that. But the difference is that they're giving you a lot more than any other bank in the entire country can give you. So why not do it? And it's free. It costs you nothing. So if you guys have any questions, please leave your likes, comments, things below. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you guys aren't already familiar with it, the way that this really helps the channel grow is because when you subscribe and when you like the button, YouTube's algorithms looks at that. They see that it's been actively watched. They see that people are responding to the content, and then they're more likely to then to promote the channel, show it on the front page, which then allows more content to be displayed that you guys can benefit from, which then requires even better quality content that you guys can benefit from, and overall, it's just a win-win-win. So, this is something that a lot of people aren't going to tell you about, in addition to a lot of my other videos, but that's what I'm here for. This channel is about making sure that you guys are getting the absolute maximum amount benefit of your money and your investments, so that you can obtain your financial wealth. So thanks for tuning in. Till next time.